while I've got your attention, we've got 2.5 days left on our fantastic Hammers Chat raffle. Gives you a chance to win. Well, there's 3 great prizes, actually. First of all, we've got a very, very rare Mark Noble COVID shirt. You don't catch COVID if you wear the shirt. I hope not. Anyway, not by now. Very rare shirt, match worn by Noble. That's prize 1. Prize 2 is a signed Mark Noble shirt from the last season, Upton Park. Really good prize. Then we got the Mark Noble captain's armband, signed, of course. Tickets are £5 each. If you buy 2 tickets, then you get a third one for free. Links in the description below. Closes Wednesday evening. We've had loads of winners already. Just go and check it out. You're going to have a look at our raffle page. It's a pretty cool page, actually. Anyway, I want to talk about Lucas Paquetá today. I want to talk about the midfield as well. In terms of Paquetá, I think I have been... Well, I've certainly been guilty of saying this. Only 1 or 2 things is going to happen. He's either going to leave and... because he's been found guilty, or he's going to leave because he gets acquitted and he wants to draw a line under it, which I perfectly understand. I perfectly understand it from both his point of view and the club's point of view. I think I believed that so much, I hadn't given too much thought to him staying. However, I'm coming round to that a little bit, actually. In fact, I actually want him to stay. We've got... I don't know how many players we've got who are guaranteed top quality, but he is one of them. Wan-Bissaka, Bowen, him, Premier League, guaranteed top quality. You can argue the merits of others, but those 3, definitely. Those 3, if they're fit, first team starters, guaranteed. Don't worry about it. It's where everybody else fits in and around them, I think. The midfield needs addressing. The midfield needs sorting out. But I do believe it's the composition of that midfield, particularly the 3 slow coaches in there, which is no good. I think in a midfield, you could probably make room for any one of those guys. You know, you could have Alvarez in there, or you could have Souček in there. What you can't do is have this blend of them as well. But if there's one thing that really highlighted how ponderous and how bad our midfield is, not that you needed confirmation, you could see it last season, was really, I think, the second half in both of our friendly matches against Grasshoppers as Zurich and, of course, West Ham when played Manchester United the other day. In the second half, it was very different. Bit of vibrancy. I think in the first game, you immediately had Lewis Orford looking up and looking to try and find Magic Diouf down the left. He did so. He just played him in a lot more. So he was looking for him to do that. I think it was slightly different in the second half in this one, because obviously, you know, you had Guilherme over there for a large chunk of it. But look at the way, again, almost immediately he was being played in. And on this occasion, it was by Paquetá, which I want to talk to about Paquetá. We know that Fearon and we know that Potts played really well. We've already discussed it. And they really highlighted, I felt, what was wrong with our midfield anyway. Because I'll tell you what they had, which our midfield doesn't. It was pass and move. Pass and move. Pass, he'd do it quickly, be facing the right way, pass it forward, move into space to receive the ball. Sounds simple, doesn't it? The sort of stuff you'd be taught at your kids' football club. But we don't really do it. And I don't want to accuse, particularly Thomas Souček or James Ward-Prowse, of being lazy. They're not. They're not lazy. They put a lot of effort in. But in terms of dictating the tempo of the game, they don't do that. They don't. They do not play this pass and move game. I think anyone looks better when they play pass and move, but I'm pretty damn sure that the style of football that Graham Potter wants to play, which is a possession-based style of football, is going to benefit from that. But in terms of opening up the defence, you need a genius. And Lucas Paquetá is precisely that. He was, when I was looking at the passes he was looking to and how he was looking, trying to play Guilherme in, particularly in the second half, obviously, I thought, that's the guy I want to see playing Magic Diouf in. Because he is going to overlap so often that we need somebody with the vision to play him in there. It just wasn't there. He wasn't getting any service in the first half. And I think so much and so many of West Ham's problems do stem from that central midfield. I think the defence looked worse because the midfield is just not functioning. But I think a lot of that is down to legs and down to just having an athlete in there. And I think you get an athlete in there, that's going to sort it out. But make no mistake about it. If you haven't got someone in there that's got the craft, then we're going to massively struggle as well. And this is where I think, Paquetá comes into it. For so long I've accepted that he's going to leave, that you start looking at other players, don't you? You start looking and thinking, well, what can Harvey Elliott bring? What will he bring in there? Even when we were linked, I didn't believe it, but we were linked for about 2 seconds with Jack Grealish. You're looking and thinking, well, he'll bring some creativity. I think we're crying out for that. We really are. I think we've got, and probably will continue to have, players that can travel with the ball. I think we'll continue to be able to attack the opposition from wide areas. I absolutely think that's going to be the case. And I think hopefully we'll become better at it as well, because we should have a little bit more balance to the team now, because we got it down the left-hand side, hopefully now. But someone's going to need to unlock that. They really are. What are we going to do from the middle? If you look at the goal. The goal actually was a penalty scored by Paquetá, but look at the move for that in the Grasshopper game. It was him. Who was it? It was him collecting a really, really neat pass from Marshall. I thought he got hacked down a lot in that Grasshopper game. And don't forget, he hadn't been, at that point, against Grasshoppers, he hadn't had the weight of the world lifted from his shoulders, by the way. And I think you could very much make a point now that we've not seen the best of Paquetá in the last 2 seasons. And the very best of him, we're going to see immediately now. So I'm not entirely sure whether we should sell him. But there's one thing that's really, really interested in me, and it is the way the narrative from the club about Paquetá over the last couple of days, because that, as much as anything, has shifted my mindset, not just a little glimmer that I've seen in the second halves of our friendly games, where not only is he looking to play people in, not only is he playing dink passes over the top, but he's trusting the players around him. Basically, Paquetá makes everyone else look better. That sort of rhymes, doesn't it? So when I was looking at some of the footage from Potts and Fearon and the good stuff that they were doing, a lot of the time, invariably, Paquetá was involved, and he changes the tempo, and that's something you looked at. Potts was doing this. Potts was changing the tempo of the game. Then you look at this pedestrian midfield of James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Souček, and in particular Guido Rodriguez. They're not changing the tempo of the game. It never suddenly goes quickly. Now, I want to make this point here. I'm not looking to get rid of Thomas Souček. I would keep him as a squad player. And I think he'll start some games as well. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater with him. But I'm now starting to come around to the prospect of possibly keeping Lucas Paquetá. I'll tell you why, because I was just really, really interested in what the club was saying over the last couple of days. Before I do that, can I please just pop you in a direction of today's video sponsor, which is Surfshark. Now, Surfshark are a VPN. If you've got a VPN, you should have a VPN. If you haven't, you need to get one. And if you're going to get one, none better than Surfshark, because we're going to give you a discount, and that is 4 months free on Surfshark, but you also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, you don't just use it on one device. You use Surfshark on all your devices. You don't have to get a different account for each one. Just subscribe. Use the link in the description below. Make sure you use a discount code. You'll get a discount, and that is HammersChat. HammersChat all one word, or you just go to surfshark.com/HammersChat. Protect your phone, protect your laptop, protect your computer, protect your Fire Stick. Do all of that stuff. Never, ever, ever has encrypting what you do on your phone in particular been more important. We do everything on there, be it internet banking, passwords, everything else. You give yourself a bit of protection, because it disguises it. It protects you. It basically creates a wall that people can't get through. They don't know where you are. You can lie about your location. They don't know where you are. You can pretend you'd be in Timbuktu if you want to. Go and check it out. The link is in the description below. And if you're not sure if you should use a VPN, just do your research anyway. Once you've done that, come back, use that code, and get yourself a bargain. Here's what I think about Lucas Paquetá and in terms of him staying at West Ham. Hadn't even thought of it, as I mentioned at the start of the video, but I thought the news that had come out from the club over the last couple of days was done as a means to bump up his price. That was my first reaction when I heard the club had said, well done, 60, 70 million or he stays. So, oh, yeah, you know what, I've heard this before. But actually, I have heard it before, but not in regard to the player that we actually sold, which was Mohamed Kudus. No, it was very much we were going to sell. We were going to sell him. There was never a point where it was really said directly from the club, we'll keep him. It was said when I forgot. And if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you'll know I believed that one. I believed the Agurd one. I don't think we would take a derisory offer. I think the first thing is, do I think Graham Potter wanted to keep Mohamed Kudus? No, I don't. I do think he sanctioned that move. Do I think Graham Potter would keep or would like to keep Lucas Paquetá? Yeah, I think he would like to keep him. The other thing that really made me question it was, look, our midfield's crap at the moment for all the reasons that we've already discussed in this video. But when it was suggested that actually our players are pretty crap and the club were asked, are we still going to be looking to get a midfielder? Because it's needed, right? As everybody knows, we need a midfielder. The answer that came back was quite telling, which was, yes, we are going to sign a midfielder, but don't forget about Lucas Paquetá and Edson Alvarez. Very much I felt that was, don't forget to factor them into your thinking when you're assessing the midfield. Now, neither of those players give us the legs and give us the athleticism. We need that, right? And almost, I forget about the Alvarez thing. I think Alvarez is a fine player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a really, really good player. I just don't think he's been used correctly. And I think if you're going to put James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Souček next to him, then you get all the problems that we've already described earlier, right? But it was throwing Lucas Paquetá in there was a strange one. Because if there'd been a conversation about wingers earlier on in the window and the club had been asked, are we going to get some wingers? They wouldn't have come back and they wouldn't have said, oh, don't forget to factor Mohamed Kudus in there, because they knew they were going to sell him. I still think it's probably 80% likely that Lucas Paquetá is going to be sold. But I'm now not adverse to keeping him. I wasn't adverse anyway. And I do think with the possibility of him playing without the weight of the world on his shoulders, as I mentioned earlier, we could see the very, very best version of him. And you're going to need that when you're one of those creative players, when you're a free spirit, when you want to. They really are the geniuses, these people, and they don't need the weight of the world on their shoulders. They just need to be able to see that pass and to be unburdened. And I guess anyone creative, it doesn't matter whether you're that or an artist, musician, whatever, you're going to need that. You're going to need to be unburdened to be able to do your job and think creatively. I think we're better with him. I absolutely do. I like Mathias Fernandes. I'd like to sign Mathias Fernandes. I'm going to keep saying that all the time. I'm yet to be completely convinced on Harvey Elliott. I think he's good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's decent. I'm just not convinced he is what Liverpool want between 40 and 50 million. I think that might be a little bit. I think it might be a little bit too much. And I think given the choice, I wouldn't mind keeping Lucas Paquetá for a little while longer. I'm not saying that's the only thing that needs to be done. I'm worried about the defence. I think we still need another striker. And we will need an attacking midfielder if Paquetá goes. An energetic box-to-box midfielder would be absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a necessity. Which means tough choices are going to have to be made in the midfield. We can't keep everyone. We really, really can't. It means players are going to have to go out on loan. I'd like to see more of Freddie Potts. I really, really would. Nobody was talking about Preston Fearon 3 days ago. Nobody. Not a single comment on air. I certainly wasn't. I hadn't heard anyone else speaking about him. But now people are going to think, well, hold on a second, we'd like to see a little bit more of him as well. They can't all stay. And I was discussing it with Gio over on our Patreon this morning when we did our sort of a player ratings light, if you want. And that is, Gio was saying, we might have to take a loss on some of these players, and I think that's it. So for me personally, I'd like to keep Souček. I think he guarantees goals. But if you keep Souček, you're going to have to let Ward-Prowse go. We need to get rid of Rodriguez. You're going to have to let Irving go. You need to get rid of some of these players, and probably quite a lot of them, to create a space for somebody else. And I'd like us to do that. And I want to see more signings before I shed the fears of relegation. Still worried about that. But the more I think about it, it's these players that just slot into your first team. And they say, I'm playing. Jarrod Bowen, Wan-Bissaka, Lucas Paquetá, they just say, look, I don't care. They say to Graham Potter, I don't care who else you play, but we're playing because they're that good. And they're top quality. And if you bring another one of those in, look, Whether we'd get Douglas Luiz, I don't know. But absolutely, I've said this on a number of videos, Premier League standard player who comes in, and once you start getting players like that, you're not going to be worried about relegation. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. But make no mistake about it, we stand a much better chance of staying in this division on what's going to be a really, really tricky season next year with Lucas Paquetá in the squad.